There are times in life when old things become new again. My 9th backpacking trip at Isle Royale National Park in May 2023 is a perfect example. Something very familiar to me would feel new again when I experienced it alongside a first-time visitor, my good friend and fellow backpacker, Dane. After almost a year of discussion and planning, Dane left his home in Pennsylvania and made the long drive to my home in Michigan. After dinner, Dane, my wife, and I spent the evening catching up, and as the evening wore on, our conversation turned to backpacking, gear, outdoor books, and of course, our long-anticipated trip to Isle Royale. Early the following morning, we drove to Ken's home, transferred gear into his vehicle, and began our long 18-hour drive to Grand Portage, Minnesota. What did you say it was? 7:45. 7:45. We're officially off. On the way to Isle Royale, Dane.
Let's do it.
Since Dane had never spent time in Michigan, I wanted him to experience several well-known points of interest along the way. Dane had walked at least 10,000 steps a day for over a year, so we left him on a lonely stretch of Highway 28 and drove away.
You get there yet? Adrian!
How many steps?
8179.
Oh, you gotta be kidding, Dane! And we're getting eaten. Did you get eaten up?
No, not until I stopped.
Dane caught up with us about a mile further down the road.
Yeah, but I can't.
You gotta be darn close.
No, real close. How many miles?
It was over. You got fireworks? And yes, he reached his steps for the day.
Is it cool down now? What do you want to do?
I'm done, yeah.
We pulled into the Hat Point Marina very early in the morning and managed a couple hours of restless sleep in the car. By 7 a.m., we joined the large group gathered on the dock, all of us eagerly waiting to hand off our gear and board the Voyageur II. The northern Minnesota air was quite brisk, but the wind was calm, the sky was blue, the sun was shining, and the captain assured us that Lake Superior would be on our best behavior during our passage. Our 20-mile journey to Isle Royale was uneventful, and before we knew it, we were cruising through the sheltered, mirror-like water of Washington Harbor. Upon arrival, a park ranger provided a brief orientation to Isle Royale and reviewed backcountry rules and etiquette. When all of the formalities were behind us, we claimed our gear and took our first official steps of this long-awaited backpacking trip. We're officially here, Isle Royale. We are just starting on the Feldtmann Trail, and we're going to be heading towards Feldtmann Lake tonight. We got, it's a little brisk out, a little cold, but blue sky, sunshine, and hopefully when we get away from the shore, it won't be so breezy and chilly. So here we go. The wind was steady and cold near the shore, but as we moved further inland, we warmed up considerably and needed to remove a few layers. It was a good problem to have.
Charlie's Angels was one of those shows I wanted to watch and I kept embarrassed about watching.
Yep.
We just put it in the freezer and then we you know, I mean it's soft now, I can cut it, it's not frozen.
A comfortable pace mixed with tranquil surroundings and never-ending conversation caused the miles to add up quickly. And before we knew it, a shiny metal plaque appeared in the distance. Our first day's hike was almost finished. We're here. There we go. Feldtmann Lake. Sight for sore feet. We've officially arrived at Feldtmann Lake, and it is quite breezy. It seems like the wind is coming straight across the lake from the east, and there's a couple of our tent sites here that are already taken, and it looks like this is probably the best one. We're going to stay here in individual site number 5. So we're going to get our tents set up, and at some point I think we're going to hit the trail and go visit Rainbow Cove. First day, Dane?
Excellent.
Good?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great day.
After our tents were set up, I attempted to filter water from the lake, but I ran into an unexpected problem. So I tried to go down to the shoreline to get some water, fill up my bag so we could filter it, and the wave action is so strong that all I'm doing is getting a bunch of debris kicked up by the waves, so that's not going to work. It's going to clog my filter. So I ended up having to walk around the lake, and as you can see, there's a path that comes through here, and the water over here is a little more calm, and it's actually flowing. So I'm going to end up having to rinse all the debris out of my bag, clean it out, and then I will fill it up with some debris-free water that I can take back to camp and then filter. I don't know how fast the wind is blowing, but it's ridiculous. The temperature says it's like 50 degrees, so with the wind chill, it's got to be, I'm guessing, in the mid to low 40s. So it's made it a little bit challenging, but I found a place here where I can get some water. So we soon realized that attempting to cook dinner in the driving wind would have been difficult at best. So we gathered our cooking supplies and food and made the 8/10 of a mile trek out to Rainbow Cove. It was a wise decision. Look at that, there's no wind. I think we'll enjoy dinner here better than we would have at camp.
I think so too, yeah.
Like being heat, see if I even like the food, and I did. So then I made one for Ken.
The following morning, we stepped out of our tents and into a calm, quiet landscape. A landscape dominated by a bright orange glow, and where the previous night's cold driving wind existed only as a distant memory.
We rode on the Appalachian Trail, I think it was in Connecticut, and there was a flying squirrel in our shelter.
After breakfast, we turned our attention to this evening's destination, the expansive and scenic Siskiwit Bay, 10 plus miles away. The trail paralleled Feldtmann Lake for more than a mile before making a fairly steep ascent to the ridge, and one of my favorite views along the trail. You can see Rock of Ages out there, all the way down where we camped last night. There's your spot.
Oh my goodness. This is sweet. This is so sweet.
What a view.
Yeah.
See the lighthouse out there?
Yeah, we saw from down below too.
Yeah, this one's even better than that previous one. You can actually get decent pictures going all the way that way, like over here. After cresting the ridge, the landscape changed from thick tree canopy and shade to open, expansive views and bright sunshine. We stopped for lunch at the Feldtmann Tower and lingered for quite a while, eating, talking, and enjoying the warmth of the sun. Yep. Here we are. there's Feldtmann Lake out there. When we continued our hike after lunch, we passed through one of my favorite stretches of trail on the island, a lengthy portion of birch tree forest. Overall, it's been a really nice day. Blue skies, sunshine, occasional breeze. Haven't really been too hot, even though I think it's what, in the 60s? So I think when we get to Siskiwit Bay though, we're all gonna be layering up because it's downright cold. And once we get out of these trees here and get the open air coming right off of Superior, I think it's gonna be even worse. So anyways, we're almost there. We had hoped to arrive early enough to claim one of the 2 shelters at Siskiwit Bay, but that wasn't in the cards for us this time. Okay, it is about 4:30 right now Central Time. We got here to our campsite at Siskiwit Bay about an hour and a half ago. When we got here, quickly discovered that the only 2 shelters here were already taken. I was really kind of hoping we'd get a shelter tonight, but that's what happens, so we'll deal with it. Low is supposed to get down to about 35 tonight, so it's going to get rather chilly. So believe it or not, out here in the sun, where it's a little more open, it's not quite as breezy as it is at our campsite. And back there being in the shade with more of a breeze, it feels really cold back there already. So I think we're going to be in for a long night. After dinner, we walked over to the community fire ring to hopefully ward off the cold, even if only for a short time. As it turned out, someone had already gathered separate piles of tinder and small, medium, and large pieces of wood and left them on the shoreline. I didn't realize it at the time, but one of the highlights of our trip was about to take place. The couple who gathered the wood joined us just as we were coaxing the infant flames into a roaring fire. We huddled around our backcountry furnace as smoke and conversation filled the air, all while watching the sky transition through its various shades of sunset. Conversation flowed as though we had known one another for years. We talked, laughed, traded stories of previous backpacking and Isle Royale trips, shared our love of the outdoors, and marveled at our common interest and knowledge of all things Upper Peninsula and Copper Country. 2 hours later, we parted ways and returned to our respective campsites. The blazing fire had allowed us to forget about the conditions we left behind. However, when we extinguished the flames, we were jolted back to reality. We were in for a long, cold night. There was a bite in the air when we emerged from our tents on the 3rd day, but the sky was clear and abundant sunshine warmed our moods. It appeared that we were in for another spectacular day. Glowing sunshine dominated the landscape as we headed off on the trail and began our northbound hike along the shoreline of Siskiwit Bay. When we reached Center Point, I ventured off trail and bushwhacked through the forest in hopes of locating a unique point of interest. Ken and I had visited this site once before, but I was hoping to be able to share it with Dane. Almost gave up. I kept coming further back, and I didn't see it, and I thought, well, it was close to shore, but I don't think it's like right on the shore, and like, well, look at it. It's like right on the shore.
We were waiting for you, yeah, and I just assumed maybe it was 20 yards in, you'd find it, and yeah, I'm back. We waited and waited.
When our easy shoreline walk ended, we began the long uphill trudge to the Greenstone Ridge. It was arduous, surprisingly muddy, and even flooded in some sections, but we did encounter a couple of unique sights along the way.
Okay, that's sort of what our well looked like.
Right.
In our backyard, except for
wider.
Yeah. A small, tranquil stream not far from the Island Mine camp area was the perfect place to resupply water and snack for a bit before our final push to Washington Creek.
The water tastes good.
All right, we have officially made it to the intersection of the Island Mine Trail and the Greenstone Ridge Trail. 6.5 miles to go down the Greenstone this way. We'll be in Windigo or Washington Creek, and we'll be done for the day. It's a little bit of a hot trek up this trail here. I don't know.
A lot of elevation changes.
Yeah, a lot of elevation change too. Sun's out, it's beating down on us, but we made it. And from here to the end of the day for us, it's going to be relatively easy. Check in later. Thankfully, it was mostly downhill, and we had plenty of bright sunshine and open forest views. So we're just hiking along the Greenstone Ridge here. From the Island Mine Trail, we're heading towards Washington Creek, and I've seen this, but it wasn't until just now that I noticed like how open and bright it seems in here. The shelter was a welcome sight for two reasons. First, it meant that our long day was finished, and second, it gave us more room for sleeping and spreading out gear. It was like a luxury backcountry hotel compared to our tents. Group sites down that way. Our destination is down there. We took advantage of the picnic table and kicked back in relative comfort for a bit.
Now, if Nathan Twitcher walked in with pizza right now, absolutely, he's welcome.
Nathan, where are you?
He went on a mission. He kind of a neat guy. He's where did he go? Bangladesh.
Afterward, we unpacked our gear, ate dinner, and rounded out the evening with engaging conversation and several rounds of cards.
Oh, you can put them.
No, instead of move, it's the same thing.
Today was the day I had been looking forward to since our trip planning began many months ago, because our destination was going to be my favorite camp area on the island, Huginnin Cove. Not only was I looking forward to spending time there again, but I was eager for Dane to experience the solitude, tranquility, and beauty for himself. I had raved about how spectacular Huginnin Cove is, and now I was hoping it would live up to the expectations I had created. We got an early start, despite the fact that we had a very low mileage day, but there was good reason for not lollygagging. I was hoping to secure the site I believe is the best campsite at the cove. Oh, here comes the seaplane. See it? The easygoing trail meandered through forested sections, past remains of historic mining-era cabins, up and down small hills, and past a beautiful open field. Yes. Off to our right, and we see this. What a view. We knew we were almost at Huginnin Cove when the trail turned to the west, and we had expansive views of Lake Superior and its rocky shoreline. As we approached the campsites, my anxiety increased. Was someone already camping at my favorite site, or would we be able to claim it for ourselves?
Well, Dane, welcome to Huginnin Cove.
This is just awesome. This is so cool. This is so cool.
Several steps later, I had my answer. Essential camp tasks were finished within minutes of our arrival, and the remainder of the day, well, that was a blank slate to be filled with exploration, conversation, and soaking up the unspoiled beauty that surrounded us.
That's a cool shot.
We also found time to film an impromptu episode of Outdoor Cooking with Brian.
Welcome to the party, Dane. This is outdoor cooking with Brian. Tonight we're doing charcuterie boards. We have a little of everything. As you can see, I'm slicing up some salami sticks here. Put a little of this over there. And then we're going to slice up some cheese. And that, we'll put the cheese over here. Now this is a sharp cheddar, so it works better when you bring these things on outdoor trips because it doesn't mold as easy. The harder cheeses are better for this, so you know, don't bring your softy cheeses, but this stuff is good. So put that there. We'll leave a little extra up. Slice up a little more. You got to cut them on an angle.
I see that.
You
Yeah.
gotta cut them on an angle.
Yeah. Really gives that deli
Right.
feel there.
And then we got some of this. We got some salty, some sweet, some energy drinks if you like, Snickers bars. Look at all this stuff. We even got some, what is this? Breakfast bacon. Applewood smoked bacon. Right? Yeah. Have your,
Okay. Are you
Come
able
on
to,
in,
can you pick it up? Or will it
you want
fall?
the charcuterie board picked up?
Yeah,
I
like,
can do that.
like presentation there.
Yeah, look at this. What do you think? Outdoor charcuterie board. And this is right for you, Michelle.
As the sun began its final approach to the horizon, the three of us gathered in our remote backwoods kitchen to prepare our dinners and eat. As we dined together, the sky became stained with shades of orange as the sound of gently lapping waves filled our ears. The combination of sights, sounds, and camaraderie created memories that will never be forgotten. After dinner, conversation all but disappeared, and silence settled over our campsite. I think we had become lost in thoughts of the day's events and the beauty that surrounded us. Yes, Huginnin Cove had been everything we expected. Huginnin Cove seemed intent on leaving us with favorable memories of our time spent there, because the morning of our last day, we were greeted by calm, tranquil surroundings, warm sunshine illuminating the landscape, and barely visible ripples dancing across the surface of the water. After breakfast, we packed away our gear and began our journey back to Windigo.
A bit lighter.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't play somebody better.
Before we knew it, we were standing in front of the Windigo sign where our trip began several days ago. But instead of wondering what lay ahead of us, we were congratulating one another for what we had done in the conclusion of an incredible backpacking trip. This trip had been a wish of mine for many years. When it eventually came to fruition, It lived on our calendars and in the planning stage for almost 12 months. I was thankful that Dane had finally been able to accompany us on this trip. And even though it was a routine trip for me and Ken, it was an entirely new location and experience for Dane, and it illustrated how there are times in life when old things become new again.